You wrote that perfect code. You shipped it and your customers started using it. But sometimes the button doesn't get clicked, the form doesn't get submitted, and your customers started getting frustrated. This is not about the bugs, rather, this is about losing your customers. And that's where testing becomes very essential and your superpower, and the automation and the testings like end-to-end testing become your shield. In today's session, we are going to talk about one such framework, one such tool that you can utilize to solve some of these problems. And this is going to be an entire series on the same tool and the framework where I'll be unfolding a lot of different features that you can use at your advantage to build robust end-to-end testing for your application or the end product. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to the first session of Nightwatch.js series. Before we go deeper with it, let me quickly introduce myself. Hey, this is Tapas. I'm a demand stack developer, building products, people for last couple of decades. I call myself as a demand stack developer because over the period of time, what I figured out, like I can push myself, work on different stacks, not limited to only front end, back end, and full stack. I'm also an educator on my platform called Tapas. I have a startup called 𝐓𝐚𝐻𝐸 Technologies, and I also manage an open source platform and community called React Play. I am a blogger. I've been blogging, technical blogging for last 5 to 6 years on FreeCodeCamp, CSS Tricks, and various other publications. I'm an open source enthusiast and also a YouTuber. So if you care for web development, full stack engineering, you can check out my YouTube. The handle is @tapasadhikari. This entire series of Nightwatch.js is brought to you by 𝐓𝐴𝐷𝐴. 𝐓𝐴𝐷𝐴 is a Gen AI powered quality engineering platform that empowers teams to test intelligently, smarter way, and to ship faster. It's built for scale. It offers a full stack cloud environment with K plus real devices and more than 3,000 browsers. So that's super cool. That's an environment that you should make use of. And of course, throughout this playlist, the session, you will be hearing back about Lambda test because we don't want to miss out watching how Nightwatch.js can be leveraged into Lambda test environment to become more productive and to ship faster. I'm sure you must be wondering what else we'll be covering in this series. So let's look into the table of contents. Today's session is of course about the introduction. So here I'm going to introduce Nightwatch.js to you, like what it does and what kind of problem it solves, what are the benefits, etc. Also going to see a little bit about its testing and its output. But I'm also going to talk about what is testing in general, because you might be someone who is very new and who is thinking about building your career towards automation engineering, and then you need to know like what are the different kind of test methodologies exist, what is test pyramid, what is end-to-end testing, all this basic information. So it's good to get started with those information, spend few minutes on that, and then get into the introduction of Nightwatch.js. So that's the plan for today. That's the introductory session. In the second session, we're going to do more on the setup of Nightwatch.js for your project. That's where we'll be starting to make our hands dirty of setting up things for your project and see how different configuration look like, what it does, etc., and run things and see it much more closely. The following session will be all about writing test, making our hands dirty by writing Nightwatch test and then executing them and then creating the reports and then looking into the reports, identifying what is there, what are the different elements, how to improve things, etc. The fourth one is about the browser automation. Here we'll be using Nightwatch.js for browser automation, and we'll see across different browsers how things works. Then we'll be talking about the assertions and the locators as our focus for this entire series. Using Nightwatch.js for the end-to-end testing, understanding of locators, understanding of assertions are essential. So this is where we'll be getting deep dive on these subjects, and then we'll make use of them by writing test. Then we'll be talking about the asynchronous test, handling asynchronous test, what are the use cases for it, then multiple browser test, running test on multiple browser, how to do it, what is the best configuration, can we use things like Lambda test to do certain things, how that integration happen, how we can leverage the platform, all these things come together. And the final session is all about debugging. What if your test case is failing? What if you are getting that red cross mark? How to debug that? How to get deeper into it? How to identify what went wrong and then fix it back and run it back and say that, hey, everything seems to be cool, right? So I hope you are excited with this table of contents, and let's get started with today's one. which is an introduction of Nightwatch.js. So what's the agenda? What's the plan? The plan, as I was mentioning, to understand different testing layers, understand what is end-to-end test, how it helps, then to understand what are the different tools apart from Nightwatch.js exist and where Nightwatch.js might be a bit different, and then to talk about the introduction part, what Nightwatch.js is about, what kind of benefit it can provide, setting the stage basically so that our upcoming sessions become much more fruitful and your understanding is as par with it. And then we're going to talk about what's next. Let's zoom out. Let's start talking about testing. What do you think, as per you, where exactly testing fits? If we talk about the software development lifecycle, the SDLC, we all have learned, right? You start with planning, then you do analysis, then you do design, then you do implementation of the development, then come testing, right? Then you do all kind of integration, then your maintenance phase, and the life cycle moves on. Now, does it mean that your testing is only in that fifth stage? What about the other stages? What kind of relationship testing might have with other stages? I would say think testing like a mindset. Where SDLC says that it is from ideation to deployment and the maintenance, testing is not just a phase, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that is integrated in your requirement analysis, it is there in your development, it is there in your deployment scenario, it is also there in your maintenance. That is where what are the different kind of test available and what test fit where is very essential for us to know. Now the question is, are there only one kind of testing? No, definitely not. The kind of testing depends on what are you going to achieve, and that's where I think this test pyramid, this particular term was coined pretty well. Makes a lot of sense, right? Once your developers start writing code or you yourself start writing code, your code is a combination of different small units, and you got to test each of those small units to make sure the expectations from those units are really maintained and your units are working so well so that when they come together they also will build something that you are expecting to build, right? And then that particular stuff you will be giving to your user, so it is going out of your hand, it is now in your user's hand, and then you have to make sure that the way that your user will use that thing that you have built, it should act the way it's supposed to be. So for each of the stages, whether you are in the unit level, whether you are in the build or the integration level, or whether in the user level, your testing differs. That's why this pyramid says a lower bottom is about the unit test. Of course, you will be writing many small units, right, to build a product. So to test each of those small units, you need to write test. That's the reason the number of tests you will be writing to do your unit testing will be much more, and they will be testing something which is very smaller, could be granular, that does one job perfectly, so it runs very fast, of course. So the bottom layer of your test pyramid can be huge in number and also it runs first. And the second layer is about the integration test, like one unit, how it is working with another unit, one module, how it is working with another module, one environment, how it is working with another environment. How can you write integration test? These are number wise or the count wise, this will be lesser than the unit test, but still there will be some number of integration tests that you need to write. And then the topmost layer where we talk about the end-to-end test. Those won't be that many in number, but very impactful, because those are the test cases that's going to impact your end user directly if you plan to simulate it the way that you think your end user will be using your products or the screens, whatever. Right? So this is a test pyramid to understand at a high level, like where unit test is positioned, where integration test is positioned, and where your E2E tests are positioned. If you want to map them in your mind, you should map it in this way. Unit test catch your logic errors in those units. Integration test ensure that your components are working well with each other, they play nice, and the E2E test, they make sure the actual user journey works or not, from login to checkout to the success message. Let's talk about E2E testing, end-to-end testing. End-to-end testing is like being the user. You click, you type, you scroll, you validate across the entire application, across the entire stack. End-to-end testing is not about testing functions. End-to-end testing is about testing the user experiences at the end of the day. For example, you visit a site, you log in, you add to cart, you check out, you go to the success screen. Now, if one of the step breaks here, your entire flow is broken. How you ensure that this entire flow is tested locally well before it goes out of your hand and goes to the end user hand and break there? That's where E2E testing and E2E automation steps in. To test what really matters for your end users. Let's understand this use case. User click on a button. Then the button makes an API call. Then something gets inside the database. And based on the response, your UI renders something else. Very usual scenario, isn't it? It can happen while submitting a form, doing a checkout, doing a registration, doing a login in many cases, right? Now, this particular scenario, if you think from the user's perspective, before any of these nodes break at your user end-to-end testing automation can make sure that you will be able to fix this flow, and then your user is also not going to face the problem at the runtime. As we are talking about Nightwatch.js, we are talking about end-to-end testing. There are many other players available. There are many other tools and frameworks available. Let us speak on a top few. The first one that comes in my mind is Selenium. I'm sure like most of you must have heard about it, worked on it. It's a bit old one, Java based, JavaScript based with WebDriver style, covering all the browsers, automation, an amazing tool, and still available, still very much in use. Then another one is Cypress, JavaScript based, right? And it's with browser native style, awesome tool. Then you have something called Playwright, JavaScript, TypeScript based with custom engine, one of the hot cake out there in the market for the end-to-end testing. And then the Nightwatch, another JavaScript based with WebDriver and also support of Chrome browser developer protocol. That's what we're going to talk about in the series as well, supports across multiple browsers. So each of these tool has its own strength. But if you're looking for something very simple, modern, scalable, that's why we are talking about Nightwatch.js. So let's meet Nightwatch.js. Let's understand what it is and what kind of benefit it gives. It's an integrated automation framework for end-to-end testing. Though our focus in the series is to talk about the end-to-end testing, but you should know that Nightwatch is not limited to it. If you have Node.js services, you can write unit test using it. You can do the integration test of HTTP APIs using Nightwatch.js. So this is why it is so powerful, right? Based on your need of the test, each of this layer of this test pyramid that we have discussed, you can make use of it. It is built on Node.js and it uses the W3C WebDriver API. It can be integrated with the cloud-based testing platform like Lambda test. This is what we are going to see, in action, like how you can run your Nightwatch test cases on Lambda test to perform something so that it not only make you productive, but it can save a lot of your local maintenance cost. All right. And then it supports variety of browsers, variety of versions. I think that is quite essential, isn't it? Google Chrome could be your favorite browser, but your customer browser could be Edge. And then you have to make sure that your product is not only working and compatible with Google Chrome, it also works similar way on other browsers as well, right? And that is where Nightwatch is going to play its role to ensure the same application works on different browsers, because you'll be able to test them out. Now let's talk about what are the different benefits we will get with Nightwatch. The first benefit is the easy configuration. We're going to see towards the end of this video that how easy it is to just get started with Nightwatch. Though elaboratively I'll be covering in the session number 2 with the setup and configuration, but it comes with zero configuration policies. You don't have to really configure anything hard unless you need certain advanced things on top of the basic stuff that you will be using. Then it's a single tool for test running, single tool for assertion, report generation, and CI/CD integration. The last part is my favorite, CI/CD integration. In the modern world, thing doesn't work in a way like you have developed something, you have given to a test team, then the test team has given to somebody to deploy, finally the person deploying it, and then it goes to the customer. Everything is kind of incremental and almost simultaneous. You are developing something and pushing to your favorite version control tool, let's say GitHub or Bitbucket. What should happen? The test should trigger on your code changes. The test should say whether your code changes are fine, it is going to work as expected or not. In case the test fails, nothing goes to your end customer. In case the test becomes successful, you go to the next in the pipeline using the CI/CD procedure, and then you deploy your product for the end customer somewhere publicly so that end customer can start using them, right? So your test function playing a major role into your CI/CD pipeline, and the integration with Nightwatch will be able to do it pretty cool, and we'll be able to see it. Next, it supports the BDD style syntax, the behavior driven development syntax. the style, what it is. When you start making our hands dirty, we're going to see that. Of course, we spoke about the multi-browser support, and it works with the environments like Lambda Test, Selenium Grid. As I spoke a lot about Nightwatch, I think it's time to see a glimpse of it. Even if we are not getting so much deep about it, let's see like how a test looks in Nightwatch, and when you run, what exactly happens. This is how a test looks like in Nightwatch.js. You don't have to really bother about understanding its syntax, what it is doing and everything, but just to show you like how it looks at a very high level, this is how it looks. What exactly it is doing? It is testing that if you go to duckduckgo.com, in the search box you are searching for Nightwatch.js and then hitting the submit button, you are running this test to ensure if a user is doing the same thing, whether the expected results will be met or not. In case it is met, I'll get a success. In case it is not met, I'll get a failure result with tons of logs and information that why it failed. This is what this particular test is doing. It has its own syntaxes. We are going to talk about all the syntaxes and everything in the upcoming session. But for now, let's imagine this is a test. And once you create a project using Nightwatch, it gives you some sample test, the one that I have opened. There are more advanced to basic level tests are there inside this example folders. Now, if I want to run this test and generate a test report, what I can do, I can go to my command prompt, and among many other different commands that we'll be learning in session 2, there is a command called npx nightwatch, and we can give the folder where I have kept my test, and what it is going to do is going to run this test. As you are seeing over here, it is running something, it's going somewhere, and the test run is completed right now. All right, it is done. And along with it, it is also saying that, hey, I have now generated a report for you under test_output folder, and the report is under Nightwatch HTML report, because I would have by default got configured with the HTML kind of report. We'll see like what are the different report format possible, anything else is possible or not when you talk about configuration and everything in the next session. But for now, it has generated a test report under this folder. Let's go ahead and open this out and see what's inside. Wow, this is how my test report looks like. Look like there are 7 tests. Out of the 6 passed, 1 failed, 86% passed. Great. This is the failed test. It failed for so and so reason. We are going to look into all of these things later. And the left side, there are all tests listed. If you want to go and check out a past test, you can click on it. You can check on this. For the failed test, if you want to look into the raw logs, you can look into the raw logs. You can see what exactly happened, can understand. You remember our last session is about debugging. We're going to see some of this thing, getting into the log, try to understand what is the failure, locally, then with Lambda test environment, and try to see like how to make sense out of those, right? But just wanted to show you like how quick it is to run a test, generate a report, then leaning on it and start analyzing what exactly happened. And there are a lot more power with it. So that's basically it for this session, the introduction part. Before we go back to session 2, my request would be go to nightwatchjs.org. That's the website for Nightwatch.js. Start looking into the home pages, start seeing like what it does. We have covered all of these things with its benefits and the introduction, but there are different ways that information is put, and I always recommend reading documentation. So you must look into it and see like what it does. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let me know how was this session, whether it started seeing some interest in you about Nightwatch.js. If you have any queries or feedback, please write to support@lambdatest.com. Check out www.lambdatest.com for more information. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to comment on this video, and of course subscribe. If you want to learn more, follow us at lambdatest.com/blog. You will find plenty of articles written over there helping out with the different corner of testings. You can also join our community by going to community.lambdatest.com. It's a big community and we would love to see you part of it. Finally, if you think about taking the certification, it's a great way to get educated and get recognized. Please go to lambdatest.com/certifications. All these links can be found in the description of this video, so go ahead and check it out. Take a great care of yourself. We'll be back soon with session 2.